Basically, my thinking has always been around trying to understand biography, trying to understand the production of biography, both in the public and in the academic setting, but not understanding biography in the sense of it being produced for corporate reasons. So, in this sense, biography that you would find in the shelves at CNA and buy because you want to understand the chronological ordered sequence of a story of the great man or the great leader. My understanding of biography wanted to escape that because I think that would be what I call a biographical convention. And this convention also starts just after the 1990s, um, with the ushering of the new stories of the new nation. And you would know that historically at that time, there's a lot of events happening in South Africa with the release of exiled leaders, with the release of Nelson Mandela from Victor Verster prison, and also with the unbanning of the liberation movements such as the African National Congress, the Pan African Congress, and a new opening up of what we call the oppositional black voices that were perhaps um, oppressed and at times suppressed by the National Party. So my biography is one that would want to enter and jump into that space of history where you had a biographic order that spoke of these great men and these great events and this romanticized period in South Africa that perhaps maybe spoke of a hopeful future, that where we could imagine a democratic dispensation that was going to become non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic in its makeup. And my biography wanted to therefore critically assess that period and to investigate and to, in a way, put forensically, in fact, an inquiry on whether, if those events really were concrete in their historical makeup. Because most of the time, what happens is that history is told as if it's a story of romance. There's this idea, and this idea starts from the history of what I call of the master narrative, where history is told of a story with a beginning and an end. And that's where I want to actually intervene to say that history can't be like that. History is some sort of a process, and this process should therefore be seen also when you do biography. So biography is not just a book, but biography is a medium and a practice in itself. But that biographic order that you see in the 90s is characterized at large by what we as historians call the apex figure of Nelson Mandela. Because I mean, Nelson Mandela's story, as it was written through an autobiographical relation between him and the journalists from America when they constructed the Long Walk to Freedom book, is that Nelson Mandela became at the center of the new nation, and he himself became the symbol for the anti-apartheid struggle. In fact, Nelson Mandela becomes a symbol of the new nation in many ways because he himself starts to become an active participant in the production of his own life story. We see a Nelson Mandela with the different shirts. We see a Nelson Mandela that goes into stadiums with Francois Pienaar, and he holds the Webb Ellis Cup. And we see a Nelson Mandela that puts himself, or if I would say positions himself, as the father of the nation through myriad ways and through performative ways of showing moral authority and fatherhoodship, not just to certain people, but to everyone. So I think that is then the way in which we should look at biography. We should look at biography beyond just as I said, the corporate relationship between the reader and the book, or the writer, reader, and the book. But we should look at biography as processes and also ongoing productions of those processes, which happen in fact in various platforms, both in academia, in the public setting, and most importantly, biography also happens in the private setting. And this we see as a relationship between the private setting and the public setting, and we see it also with the subjects that are always contained in the biography, is that subjects themselves do things in the private that we in the public can't see. And I think that is what my understanding then of a critical biography sets in, is that it also becomes then this sort of social inquiry to look at things like, why would Mandela in his first marriage fail, and why would most pundits and most commentators about his first marriage call him someone who was abusive, someone who was neglectful of the family and was more outside and was actually a womanizer? Why would they say that? And later on with Winnie Mandela then say he has changed. So it means that Mandela's making or biographical makings are also infused with this private and a public relationship that happens. And it's important. It's important for one to question that. And I think, just to close it off, the major thing that we also see with the making of biography is this whole idea of biographical contestation, where we find that biography becomes not just a means of fixed narratives where people write biographies and write them and become cast in stones, but biographies themselves later on become contested. And I still go back to the biography of Mandela, where you still had a large number of the so-called born frees questioning Mandela's reconciliatory politics and his ideas on a diverse and unified nation. And you see this happening in the public sphere during the protests in 2015, when people were saying that we've been sold a dream by the likes of Mandela. So Mandela's biography has went through many stages, and I think that's the nature of biography itself, is that it is an ongoing production that is leveled against a high